today, was Indian independence icon Mahatma Gandhi racist?
Welcome to Watch Mojo, and today we're looking at world leaders whose darker beginnings cast a long shadow over their legacy.
To this day, Cromwell remains a dark silhouette against the blood-stained backdrop of Irish history.
Charles de Gaulle. Before becoming the French hero of World War II and the nation's post-war identity, Charles de Gaulle was an individual with deeply problematic views.
Il est temps que se forme et que s'organise le rassemblement du peuple français.
While he was not directly a staunch supporter of colonialism, he believed in France's right to dominate foreign peoples. De Gaulle desired France's colonial empire to be restored, finding it essential to its prestige and place in the world. Charles de Gaulle also preferred an authoritarian approach when it came to governance.
At 6'5" in height, he towered over his contemporaries, and with his regal bearing and firm gaze, he exuded an air of forthright self-confidence.
Despite these flaws, de Gaulle rose to prominence as the leader of the Free French Forces.
Over the following months, de Gaulle's main weapon was BBC Radio. He would give broadcasts an average of 3 times per month, denouncing the occupation government based in Vichy and urging Frenchmen to resist the occupation.
A symbol of France's resistance to Nazi occupation, his post-war presidency helped stabilize the nation. Nevertheless, de Gaulle's personal contradictions are a reminder that even national heroes have troubling ideologies. Margaret Thatcher. Remembered as the Iron Lady, she was Britain's first female prime minister. Margaret Thatcher exemplified the meaning behind political toughness.
What has indeed happened is that now, once again, Britain is not prepared to be pushed around.
This makes her earlier records, before gaining power, quite obvious in their revelation of a colder and harsher personality. Thatcher openly supported South Africa's apartheid regime. The human rights abuses that occurred there were seemingly of little concern to her. Domestically, Thatcher was seen as dismissive of the struggles of the working class. Her economic policies promoted and widened inequality.
Her most controversial tax was replacing local rates with a poll tax, using a simple logic that millionaires should pay the same tax as a nurse. It was free market overreach.
Still, Thatcher is respected by many for reshaping Britain's economy and holding her ground when it came to foreign policy. Love her or hate her, Thatcher's pre-leadership stances paint a far less flattering picture of the eventual Prime Minister of Britain.
My training, when I'm faced with an argument or a proposition, is quite simple. First, find the facts. Then try to find the reasons, then propound the policy. That's not a bad way of going about anything.
Thomas Jefferson. Slavery has always been a complex discussion in the theater of American politics. It has also been recognized as the moral failing of many of the nation's heroes. One of them is Thomas Jefferson.
Jefferson professed to hate slavery, called it an abominable crime.
Revered as one of the founding fathers of America and the author of the Declaration of Independence, Jefferson owned hundreds of slaves. It's even been said he fathered several children with his enslaved servant, Sally Hemings. Jefferson's personal life stands in stark contrast to his famous proclamation that all men are created equal.
This is Thomas Jefferson's laptop desk. This is the desk upon which he wrote early drafts of the Declaration of Independence.
Despite these moral failings, Jefferson's leadership helped shape the U.S. government. Although the contradictions between Jefferson's ideals and reality lend a study in contrast, he remains a celebrated figure in American history.
Deeply flawed man, a great man, but a deeply flawed man.
Malcolm X. The Civil Rights era gave birth to many powerful voices. Malcolm X was among the greatest of them.
The European yardstick now isn't necessarily the yardstick. And what the European calls racialism isn't necessarily racialism. And what the European calls brotherhood isn't necessarily brotherhood.
Advocating for black empowerment and pride, Malcolm X became a prominent figure in the black people's struggle for recognition.
Anytime you have a country that refers to itself as the free world and a democracy, and at the same time has 22 million of its citizens who aren't permitted citizenship, why, that in itself reflects lunacy.
Before his transformation as a voice for the voiceless, Malcolm's life was steeped in crime. As a young man, he was involved in dealing, gambling, and robberies. These activities eventually landed him in prison. Prison changed Malcolm's life, and he underwent a dramatic ideological shift. Embracing education and faith, he propelled himself into activism. While controversial throughout his life, Malcolm X's metamorphosis from criminal to respected leader highlights the complexities of redemption.
But I do believe that the black man in the United States and any human being, anywhere, is well within his right to do whatever is necessary, by any means necessary, to protect his life and property, especially in a country where the federal government itself has proven that it is either unable or unwilling to protect the lives and property of those human beings.
Anwar Sadat. You would think that winning a Nobel Prize would dispel any shade of negativity. This is not the case with Anwar Sadat.
Sadat was a new president. Nobody knew how stable his rule of Egypt is.
The Egyptian president pursued peace and won the Nobel Prize for the groundbreaking treaty he settled with Israel. Unfortunately, his earlier years paint a darker picture. Sadat was reportedly implicated in an assassination plot. Worst of all, he collaborated with Nazi Germany during World War II, aligning himself with fascist ideologies. Sadat's early political activities leaned toward violence and extremism. He would gradually evolve into a statesman who sought stability in the Middle East.
Sadat was very clear that this was the first step. If we insisted that we get the agreement of all the Arab countries, we would not be able to get that.
From a man of violence to peacemaker, Sadat's past underscores the controversial nature of his legacy.
This is my way. I like it.
Oliver Cromwell. To some, he is the defender of parliamentary democracy. To others, especially the Irish, he is remembered as a brutal oppressor.
The English writer G.K. Chesterton said of Cromwell's conquest of Ireland that it was a tragic necessity that the Irish should remember it, but far more tragic that the English forgot it.
Either way, Oliver Cromwell was a man of various shades. Before becoming Lord Protector of England, Cromwell led military campaigns in Ireland not for the best reasons. His campaigns were marked by massacres, scorched earth tactics, and widespread terror.
For many people, Cromwell's campaign in Ireland begins and ends with those notorious massacres. But they only form part of the story.
Cromwell's ruthlessness left a deep scar in the minds of the Irish people. Today, he is celebrated for helping establish a form of democratic parliamentary power and limiting the monarchy. With a deeply divided reputation, it is clear that Cromwell's rise to leadership was paved in blood and cruelty.
He remains a remarkably modern figure, relevant to our understanding of both the past and the present. Somebody to be closely studied and understood, rather than revered or reviled.
Franklin D. Roosevelt. This U.S. president is remembered for steering the nation through the darkness of the Great Depression and the depravity of World War II.
So first of all, let me assert my firm belief that the only thing we have to fear is fear itself.
But Franklin D. Roosevelt's earlier views were far from inspiring. Before becoming President of the United States of America, Roosevelt reportedly supported eugenics. Expressing discriminatory and ableist beliefs, Roosevelt's beliefs sharply clashed with the public image that he had constructed for himself as a progressive leader.
I know that it is America's purpose that we shall not fail.
Although Roosevelt threw aside his regressive thoughts, they still cast a long shadow over his legacy. It was a troubling start, but Roosevelt's wartime leadership eventually secured him a place among the greats. His story demonstrates how a leader's early prejudices don't always define their impact.
For unless there is security here at home, there cannot be lasting peace in the world.
Winston Churchill. Known for his bullish spirit and leadership of Britain during World War II, Winston Churchill's pre-war record was anything but heroic.
I know why most people think of him as a hero, because they know absolutely nothing about huge aspects of his legacy.
It was the same Churchill who advocated for the use of poison gas against what he reportedly called uncivilized tribes in Africa. The Indian subcontinent also fell in Churchill's crosshairs. Overseeing brutal colonial campaigns, Churchill implemented policies that also contributed to the devastating Bengal famine.
Churchill did several things that greatly aggravated
His open racism and imperialist attitudes were not anomalies, but something that he followed through with in his worldview. Churchill's legacy is a paradoxical one, where he serves as both a savior in crisis to his nation and an architect of suffering to others.
It is my duty to place before you certain facts about the present position in Europe.
Mahatma Gandhi, the father of India, was revered as the champion of non-violent resistance.
It is complete independence that we want.
Yet, despite his stance against colonialism and slavery, the Mahatma's earlier life speaks to a very different individual. As a young lawyer in South Africa, the same Mahatma Gandhi openly expressed racist and discriminatory views.
He very much embodied and believed strongly in the ideals of Western civilization at the time, which were premised on various forms of white supremacy.
Gandhi treated Africans as inferior and pushed for segregationist policies. Unlike his later advocacy for equality and peace, Gandhi's past was mirrored in darker thoughts. He later became the leader of India's independence movement, and in the process, transformed himself into a global symbol of non-violence.
Gandhi was a bundle of contradictions, right? Like any complex human being. The problem is when you declare somebody a Mahatma or a great soul, and then you decide to worship that person for the rest of your life for posterity. That's where the problem comes.
Nonetheless, controversies echo through his family's continued influence in Indian politics, particularly under the authoritarian regime of Indira Gandhi, further cementing the Gandhi name in history.
Before we continue, be sure to subscribe to our channel and ring the bell to get notified about our latest videos. You have the option to be notified for occasional videos or all of them. If you're on your phone, make sure you go into settings and switch on your notifications.
Nelson Mandela. He was the hero who dismantled apartheid and guided South Africa toward reconciliation.
Only through commitment have these victories been won. Only through discipline can they be consolidated and made to last.
Even then, Nelson Mandela had a checkered past of his own to recall. Before becoming president, Mandela fully embraced violent resistance. Co-founder of Umkhonto we Sizwe, the armed wing of the African National Congress, Mandela carried out bombings and sabotage.
At the time of the 1948 election, Mandela had already been a powerful member of the ANC's Youth League for several years. During that time, he had radicalized more and more, becoming attracted to an ideology of civil disobedience.
The deaths of civilians were an acceptable collateral damage. These efforts branded Mandela a terrorist in the eyes of Western governments. However, over the decades that followed, Mandela gradually turned toward peace and forgiveness.
We are striving to proceed in a manner and towards a result which will ensure that all our people, both black and white, emerge as victors.
Refusing to let vengeance shape South Africa's future, Mandela became a beloved global icon who set aside his militant beginnings in one of the most profound personal transformations in modern history.
We know better because we are the people who are responsible for this negotiating process. And we should be telling the world what methods of action should be abandoned and at what time.
Did these leaders' early flaws tarnish their legacies, or did their later actions rectify their past? Let us know in the comments.